When pressure hits, most people panic. They freeze, overthink, or lash out. But not you, not after this. You're going to learn how to think with clarity under stress, how to slow the world down when everything speeds up, because stress doesn't destroy the strong. It exposes the untrained. This is mental combat, and your mind is the weapon. This audiobook will teach you how to stay calm, how to see clearly, and how to decide with precision when it matters most. Clarity isn't luck. Clarity is training. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Calm is a choice. When pressure hits, you either panic or you poise. You have a choice, panic or poise. That's the first truth you need to tattoo on your mind. You don't lose clarity because the situation is chaotic. You lose clarity because your mind follows the chaos. Stress doesn't break people. Their reaction to stress does. The people who perform under pressure, soldiers, athletes, first responders, they aren't superhuman. They've simply trained their nervous system to obey command when others obey panic. And that's what you're going to learn to do. You're going to train control. You're going to make calm your default. Because when everything around you loses control, the calm one leads. 1. Stress triggers reaction. Clarity requires control. The moment stress hits, your brain goes primal. Your breathing shortens. Your vision narrows. Your thoughts race. You shift from deliberate thinking to survival thinking, from control to chaos. That's when mistakes happen. That's when clarity disappears. You don't think. You react. But here's the truth most people never learn. Clarity is not lost by accident. It's surrender by choice. You have a choice, panic or poise. When your body speeds up, you slow down. When your breathing rises, you drop it. When the pressure spikes, you command control. That's the key. Control your physiology, and your mind will follow. You can't think clearly if you can't breathe clearly. Take this from the best of the best. Special Forces operators are trained to breathe before they act. Before they breach a door, they breathe. Before they pull a trigger, they breathe. Before they speak under fire, they breathe. Why? Because breath resets the nervous system. It's not about thinking your way calm. It's about breathing your way calm. You can't outthink panic. You have to outbreathe it. That's the system. That's the discipline. 2. The best performers respond. They don't react. Every professional under pressure knows this truth. Reacting is emotional. Responding is intentional. You don't have to be military to understand it. You can apply it in business, in arguments, in emergencies, in life. When you react, you give control away. When you respond, you take it back. You have a choice, panic or poise. Think of an emergency surgeon. The room is chaos. Alarms are blaring. Nurses are shouting. The patient's heart is flatlining. But the surgeon's tone stays even. Movements stay precise. Breathing stays steady. That's not emotionless. That's trained focus. That's clarity under fire. You see, chaos doesn't demand more emotion. It demands more composure. That's the key. You can't control the storm, but you can control your stance inside it. And the stance starts with posture. Yes, posture. When you slump, your lungs compress, your breath shortens, your brain panics. When you stand tall, shoulders back, spine aligned, you create physiological confidence. That's how Special Forces command the battlefield. That's how surgeons command the operating room. That's how elite athletes command the field. Posture, breath, response. Not panic, not flinch, not fear. You can start training this today. When stress hits, don't move first. Don't speak first. Don't react first. Breathe. Adjust posture. Then act with control. Every time you choose composure over chaos, you build the muscle of clarity. And that's exactly what it is. A muscle. Train it or lose it. 3. Calm isn't natural, it's practiced. You weren't born calm. Nobody was. Calm is not a personality trait. It's a trained skill. You practice calm the same way you practice strength, speed, or endurance. The difference between amateurs and professionals? Amateurs wait for calm to appear. Professionals create it. That's the key. You create calm through repetition. You create calm through exposure. You create calm through command. You have to practice calm under pressure, not after it. You don't meditate when it's quiet. You control yourself when it's loud. You don't breathe only when it's easy. You breathe especially when it's hard. Every stressful situation you face is an opportunity to train. Traffic, arguments, deadlines, failure, they're all gyms for your nervous system. Discomfort is your instructor. Pressure is your practice ground. When you feel the heart rate spike, say to yourself, you have a choice, panic or poise. That's the moment you win or lose control. Calm doesn't mean emotionless. It means composed while emotional. It means emotion moves through you, not into you. It means you experience the storm without becoming the storm. That's what makes calm powerful. It's strength without noise. You want to lead better? Be calm. You want to think sharper? Be calm. You want to execute flawlessly? Be calm. Because calm is a platform everything else stands on. Without calm, logic collapses. Without calm, focus fragments. Without calm, decision-making becomes gambling. But when you master calm, clarity follows. And when clarity leads, success becomes predictable. So train it every day. Breath work, posture checks, slowing the pace of your speech. Every small habit rewires your body to obey you, not panic. Remember this. You can't control every situation. You can't control every outcome, but you can control your state. Control your state, and your state controls your decisions. That's the foundation of clarity under stress. That's the first skill of elite performers. Now, think about your next high-pressure moment. Maybe it's a hard conversation. Maybe it's a crisis at work. Maybe it's a personal storm that rattles your world. When it hits, don't rush. Don't freeze. Don't react. Breathe. Straighten your spine. Slow your mind. Choose calm. Because calm is not a feeling, it's a command. You issue it. You practice it. You master it. That's the discipline that separates the average from the elite, the scattered from the stable, the reactive from the ready. You have a choice, panic or poise. Choose poise. Every time, you built the foundation. You've learned that calm is a command, not a condition. Now we go deeper, because once you've built calm, you need to build control. In the next chapter, you'll learn how to slow your thoughts when everything speeds up. Chapter 2, slow down your mind. Speed up your power. When stress hits, time collapses. Your thoughts race. Your hands shake. Your pulse spikes. Everything feels like it's happening too fast. That's the illusion of stress. The lie that you don't have time to think. You do. You always do. But only if you slow your mind first. Because here's the truth. When you rush, you make mistakes. When you panic, you lose power. And when you slow down, you gain it back. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. That's not a slogan, that's a system. That's how elite performers dominate chaos. And it's exactly how you're going to start thinking from this point forward. 1. Under stress, time compresses. Panic accelerates perception. When adrenaline floods your system, your brain distorts time. A second feels like a blink. A minute feels like a storm. You stop analyzing, you start reacting. That's why people say, I froze, or I blanked out, or I panicked. They didn't lose intelligence. They lost timing. They didn't run out of answers. They ran out of rhythm. And that's what stress does. It speeds up your internal clock until you can't think clearly. You have to slow it down. You must slow your internal clock. That's the key, because the slower your mind moves, the more time you create. And time, not talent, not luck, time is power. Think about it. A special forces operator entering a room full of unknown threats can't afford panic. If his mind races, he misses movement. If he rushes, he dies. So he trains one mantra: slow is smooth, smooth is fast. He moves deliberately. He breathes rhythmically. He trusts precision over speed. And that precision creates dominance. You can apply the same system in your world. In business, in pressure meetings, in relationships, in moments of chaos. When everyone else speeds up, you slow down. Let them rush. Let them stumble. You hold your rhythm. You have a choice: react with panic or respond with pace. That's the discipline that separates amateurs from professionals. Because professionals never let stress dictate tempo. They control the clock. 2. The mind that rushes makes mistakes. The mind that pauses sees opportunities. When your mind rushes, you make emotional decisions. You say things you regret. You move without thinking. You confuse speed for strength. But here's the truth. Rush thinking is weak thinking. You don't need more speed. You need more clarity. When you pause, you see. When you slow down, the fog lifts. When you take one breath, one pause, one moment, opportunities appear that panic would have hidden. That's the key. The pause gives you sight. There's a reason top chess players sit still under pressure. Their opponent slams the clock, but they don't flinch because they understand the first move isn't always the best move. The fastest response isn't always the right one. You have to earn your timing. In your own life, that means this. Before you respond to criticism, pause. Before you send that angry text, pause. Before you make a high-stakes decision, pause. Because that pause, that 1 second command, can change everything. The world worships urgency, but the wise master tempo. You don't need to move faster. You need to move smarter. Remember this. Panic sees threats. Clarity sees patterns. And the mind that sees patterns always wins. So when chaos hits, pause. Not to hesitate, not to retreat, but to reset your vision. When others rush, they narrow their world. You expand yours. When others chase reaction, you choose precision. You have a choice: chaos or command. Choose command. 3. Tactical pauses, reset breaths, and mental spacing. Tools to regain clarity in chaos. Let's make this practical. You're not here for theory. You're here for transformation. You're going to learn the same tactical resets elite operators, surgeons, and negotiators use to reclaim control in chaos. The first tool is a tactical pause. A tactical pause is not weakness. It's dominance. It's a 1 second break between stimulus and response. You pause, you observe, then you act. That 1 second recalibrates your brain from fight or flight to focused thinking. It's the space where composure lives. So train it. When pressure spikes, say to yourself, tactical pause. Breathe. Reset posture. Scan. Then move. That's how clarity wins over chaos. The second tool is the reset breath. Simple but powerful. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Exhale through the mouth for 6. Hold for 2. That's 1 cycle. 2 or 3 cycles, and your nervous system stabilizes. Your heart rate drops. Your vision widens. Your thoughts slow. You have a choice: speed or stability. Choose stability. You can't think like a leader if you're breathing like prey. The third tool is mental spacing. This is where professionals separate themselves. Mental spacing means expanding your focus beyond the moment. You zoom out. You ask, what's really happening here? What's my goal? what matters most right now. That zoom out gives you perspective, and perspective kills panic. If you can create mental space in chaos, you can think strategically while others drown emotionally. Remember, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. You don't lose momentum when you slow down. You create mastery. Let's put this all together. You face chaos every day. Maybe it's deadlines. Maybe it's confrontation. Maybe it's uncertainty about the future. You can't eliminate stress. You can only command it. So when time compresses, slow it. When thoughts race, breathe. When chaos spikes, pause. That's not passivity. That's power. That's what the best do when everything's on the line. You don't have to be in combat to train like a commander. You just have to reclaim your internal rhythm when the world tries to steal it. When you slow your mind, your power returns. When you slow your mind, clarity emerges. When you slow your mind, decisions sharpen, emotions settle, and control becomes natural. Because the goal isn't to move faster through chaos. It's to move smoother. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. And when you live by that principle, your entire presence changes. People feel it. They trust it. They follow it. Because calm authority always commands a room. You don't need to shout to be powerful. You don't need to rush to be efficient. You just need to think clearly when others can't. That's your edge. That's your advantage. You have a choice, chaos or clarity. Choose clarity. Every time. You've learned how to slow your mind when stress tries to speed you up. Now it's time to master what drives that control. Focus. Because clarity means nothing without direction. Next, we go deeper into the art of disciplined attention. Chapter 3. Emotion is data, not direction. When stress hits, emotion surges. Fear, anger, frustration, doubt. They come fast. They come loud. And if you're not trained, they take the wheel. That's where most people fail. They let emotion steer the car. They crash because they confuse feeling with fact. They let temporary chemistry make permanent decisions. But not you. Not anymore. You're going to retrain your mind to see emotion for what it truly is. Data, not direction. Emotion is information, not instruction. That's the key. 1. Feelings are signals, not steering wheels. You're not weak for feeling. You're human. But weakness begins when you let those feelings dictate your behavior. Emotion is supposed to inform you, not control you. It's a message, not a master. That's the discipline most people never develop. They think feeling angry means act angry. They think feeling fear means run. They think feeling doubt means stop. But you're learning to separate signal from steering. When you feel frustration, it's your system saying something's off. When you feel fear, it's your brain warning you prepare. When you feel doubt, it's a signal to check your data. Emotion is feedback. It's not failure. It's not identity. It's not destiny. You have a choice. React to it or read it. That's the key to thinking clearly under stress. The elite don't ignore emotion. They interpret it. They decode it. They use it as input, not output. Think about an elite pilot. When a warning light flashes, he doesn't panic. He doesn't scream, "Oh no, I'm doomed." He checks the panel. He analyzes the signal. He takes corrective action. That's what emotion is. Your internal warning light. It's not there to terrify you. It's there to teach you. But if you grab the wheel and let panic steer, you lose control. Every feeling has value when filtered through discipline. Every emotion carries intelligence when processed through clarity. You don't need to eliminate emotion. You just need to lead it. That's emotional command. That's how leaders think when the world loses control. 2. Identify the emotion, label it, and separate observation from reaction. Let's go deeper. The first step to mastering emotion is identification. You can't command what you can't name. When something hits you, when anger, stress, or fear spikes, pause and identify it. Don't suppress it. Don't judge it. Just name it. I feel anger. I feel fear. I feel disappointment. Those 3 words, I feel emotion, instantly separate you from the emotion itself. You become the observer, not the reactor. That's the moment of power. Because observation gives you distance, and distance gives you dominance. You can't think clearly if you're inside the emotion. You must step outside it and watch it move. That's what mindfulness really means, not candles and calm playlists, but the raw, tactical ability to separate stimulus from response. When you observe your emotion, you break its spell. You go from I am angry to I notice anger. That one word shift changes everything. You're no longer possessed by the emotion. You're processing it. That's what professionals do. In high-stakes environments, emergency rooms, trading floors, combat zones, professionals train that separation daily. They label their emotions in real time because labeling is control. Here's why. When you label a feeling, you move it from the emotional brain, the amygdala, to the rational brain, the prefrontal cortex. You literally shift your state from chaos to clarity. That's not theory. That's neuroscience. So practice it. When your heart starts racing, label. When frustration builds, label. When fear rises, label. You have a choice. You can drown in the emotion or decode it. Emotion informs. It must not decide. That's the key. 3. Emotional detachment drills, turning chaos into information, not identity. Now let's turn this concept into action. Theory means nothing without drills. And if you want to command your emotions under pressure, you need to train detachment. Here are 3 drills that separate emotion from identity and give you control when it counts. Drill 1, the observer frame. When stress spikes, imagine stepping outside yourself. Visualize watching the situation like a movie. You see yourself speaking. You see your face reacting. You zoom out. That's your observer frame. You're no longer the actor. You're the director. And directors don't react emotionally. They adjust the scene. That single mental shift gives you instant clarity. You turn chaos into data. Drill 2, the write and burn method. Grab a notebook or phone note. When emotion builds, write out exactly what you feel, no filter. Let it pour. Anger, fear, resentment, all of it. Then read it once. Highlight what's data and what's drama. Data is fact. The deadline is tomorrow. Drama is reaction. I'll never get it done. Keep the data. Burn the drama. This drill trains you to separate emotions' signal from its story. And that's how you stop reacting and start leading. Drill 3, the 90-second rule. Here's a secret neuroscience trick. Emotions, left unrefueled by thought, burn out in about 90 seconds. That's right. Anger, fear, frustration. They physiologically last less than 2 minutes unless you feed them with your focus. So the next time emotion surges, start the clock. Don't speak. Don't act. Don't react. Just breathe and watch it fade. That's your emotional discipline test. You'll feel the urge to move. Resist it. You'll feel the wave rise. Ride it. 90 seconds later, you'll be in control again. Not because the world changed, because you did. You have a choice. Feed the fire or let it burn out. That's mastery. Emotion is data, not direction. It's a radar, not a compass. It's meant to alert you, not lead you. You don't need to erase your feelings. You need to learn their language. Because when you learn to translate emotion into information, you gain an advantage most people never touch. Fear becomes preparation. Anger becomes energy. Sadness becomes clarity. Frustration becomes fuel. That's what happens when you interpret emotion instead of obeying it. You don't suppress it. You don't explode it. You use it. And that's the difference between those who lose control and those who lead. Because emotional command is not coldness, it's control. It's the ability to feel deeply without being driven blindly. You have a choice, reaction, or reason. And every time you choose reason, you build internal authority. That's how mental clarity is forged, not by removing emotion, but by mastering it. Emotion informs. It must not decide. That's the code. That's the discipline. That's how clarity wins under pressure. You've learned how to control emotion, to treat it as data, not direction. Now it's time to master the next level of control, your focus. Because emotion may distract you, but attention defines you. And if you can't command your focus, you can't command your future. Chapter 4, The Power of the Pause. Every impulsive mistake you've ever made had one thing in common. It happened because you didn't pause. You spoke too fast. You reacted too soon. You moved without thought. And in that split second, you traded control for chaos. That's what happens when you move faster than your mind can see. That's what happens when you react instead of respond. But here's the truth. Power lives in the pause. Pause equals power. That's the key. 1. Every impulsive mistake comes from a rushed moment that needed a pause. You've said things you didn't mean. You've made decisions you've regretted. You've sent the message, signed the deal, took the action, all before clarity arrived. Why? Because you didn't pause. You let emotion drive you instead of direction. You let pressure push you instead of principle. That's not weakness, it's conditioning. We're trained to move fast, to act now, to decide immediately. But reaction without reflection is chaos disguised as confidence. You don't win by being first. You win by being clear. And clarity always requires a pause. Every professional knows this. Surgeons pause before the incision. Pilots pause before the takeoff. Soldiers pause before the shot. Because they understand the truth. A second of pause prevents hours of damage. A single breath can stop a lifetime of regret. The pause is your power button. The difference between reacting from fear and responding with focus. When you pause, you shift from emotion to execution. When you pause, you go from panic to precision. You have a choice, rush and regret, or pause and respond. That's the key. 2. The pause is not hesitation, it's recalibration. Let's make one thing clear. The pause is not hesitation. Hesitation is fear. Pause is control. Hesitation is uncertainty. Pause is awareness. Hesitation comes from doubt. Pause comes from dominance. When you hesitate, you freeze. When you pause, you think. That's the difference between the amateur and the elite. The amateur mistakes speed for strength. The elite knows that calm is command. When pressure rises, the untrained panic. They act before they see. But the trained mind, the disciplined mind, pauses. Because the pause recalibrates your system. It resets your breathing. It resets your vision. It resets your thinking. It's not delay, it's design. Imagine this. You're in a heated argument. Emotions high. Pulse racing. Your instinct says, fight back. Prove your point. But instead, you pause. You take one breath. You let the heat settle. You ask yourself, what outcome do I actually want? That's recalibration. You move from emotional reaction to intentional action. You move from impulse to intelligence. That's what leaders do. That's what clarity looks like under stress. The pause lets you zoom out from the moment and see the field. It's like lifting your eyes from the battle to study the map. When you pause, you regain perspective, and perspective restores power. You have a choice, react from weakness or respond from wisdom, and every pause gives you the power to choose. 3. The 3-second reset, how to command yourself under pressure. Let's turn this into practice. You don't need a lifetime of meditation or a silent retreat to master control. You need a system, something fast, something tactical. That system is the 3-second reset. Here's how it works. When stress spikes, when your heart races, when your jaw tightens, when you feel yourself about to say or do something you'll regret, you take 3 seconds. That's it. 3 seconds. Second 1. Breathe in deep, deliberate, through the nose. You're reclaiming control of your physiology. Second 2. Exhale slowly, calm, steady, through the mouth. You're lowering your internal noise. Second 3. Ask the key question. What outcome matters most right now? Then move, not before. That's your 3-second reset. Simple, tactical, powerful. It trains your brain to interrupt chaos. It forces awareness between stimulus and response. And that small gap, that moment of pause, is where all your power lives. Because in that space, you can think. And when you can think, you can win. You'll notice the more you train this, the faster it becomes. At first, the pause feels forced. Later, it becomes instinct. You'll begin to catch yourself mid-emotion, mid-reaction. And that's mastery. When your awareness becomes automatic, the best performers on earth live inside that pause. Athletes call it the zone. Soldiers call it slow time. Leaders call it composure. It's all the same principle. Deliberate control under pressure. Pause equals power. That's not theory. That's truth. You can apply the 3-second reset anywhere. Before you speak. Before you send the text. Before you hit reply. Before you walk into the meeting. Because once words are spoken, they can't be unsaid. Once actions are taken, they can't be undone. A 3-second pause can prevent a 3-year consequence. A moment of calm can save a lifetime of cleanup. That's how professionals live. They don't react to the world. They respond with purpose. And it starts with a pause. The power you build when you learn to pause. When you master the pause, everything changes. You stop living on defense. You stop letting stress dictate your behavior. You become deliberate. You become dangerous because you're no longer controlled by chaos. The pause gives you access to choice. And choice is the highest form of control. It's not about being emotionless. It's about being aware. It's not about being slow. It's about being steady. It's not about waiting. It's about winning. Because the mind that pauses is the mind that commands. The person who can pause in chaos can lead others through it. The one who pauses before reacting saves energy, saves reputation, saves clarity. Every second of pause strengthens your authority. Every breath of patience expands your control. And every time you pause, you reinforce a new identity. I am calm. I am clear. I am in command. That's not arrogance. That's ownership. You don't need to dominate others to have power. You just need to dominate yourself. And the pause is how you do it. Pause equals power. Remember that phrase. Repeat it. Train it. Because in every pressure-filled moment, you'll have 2 options. React emotionally or respond intelligently. And the gap between those 2 is the pause. That's the space where clarity lives. That's where your next level begins. You have a choice. You always do. Pause before you act, and own the outcome after. You've learned the power of the pause, how silence and stillness create control. But clarity doesn't just come from slowing down. It also comes from what you focus on next. Your energy follows your attention. And if you can't aim that attention deliberately, you'll lose it distraction. Chapter 5. Control what you can ruthlessly. Control. That's the word that separates the calm from the chaotic, the focus from the frantic, the leaders from the lost. But here's the hard truth. Most people are trying to control the wrong things. They fight the weather. They argue with traffic. They obsess over people's opinions. They try to control outcomes they don't even own. And every time they do, they drain their power. That's why they're exhausted. That's why they're anxious. That's why they can't focus. Because their energy is being wasted on things they can't control. You've done it too. We all have. You replayed conversations in your head that already ended. You worried about situations that never happened. You've blamed others instead of building yourself. And every second of that, every ounce of that emotional energy was stolen from what you could control. So the rule is simple. Control the controllable. Release the rest. That's the key. 1. Stress multiplies when you fight what you can't control. Stress isn't just pressure. It's resistance. It's the mental war you start when you demand that reality bend to your will. But reality doesn't care. It moves on. And the more you fight it, the weaker you get. That's the truth no one wants to hear. You can't control what happens to you. You can only control what happens within you. That's the discipline. The storm doesn't stop because you complain about the rain. The market doesn't shift because you post about your frustration. People don't change because you wish they would. You can't control the external. You can only control your internal. Your breathing, your focus, your reaction. That's where all your power lies. When you waste time fighting the uncontrollable, you multiply your stress. You amplify chaos. You turn pressure into paralysis. But when you narrow your attention to what you can actually command, everything changes. Your stress decreases. Your clarity increases. Your confidence stabilizes. That's not philosophy. That's physics. Control equals calm. And calm equals control. That's the loop you want to live in. You have a choice. Fight what you can't control or master what you can. Only one of those paths builds strength. 2. Build mental triage. Sort chaos into what you own, influence, or ignore. When chaos hits, most people drown because they never learn how to sort it. They treat every problem as their problem. They treat every storm as their responsibility. You can't do that. You'll burn out. You need mental triage, a system for separating what deserves your energy from what doesn't. Here's how it works. When life throws you chaos, ask 3 questions. Question 1, do I own this? If the answer is yes, take action immediately. If the answer is no, move to the next filter. Question 2, can I influence this? If you can do what's within your power, then let go. If you can't, move on. Question 3, does this even deserve my attention? If it doesn't affect your mission, your values, or your goals, ignore it. Silence it. Cut it out. That's mental triage. Simple, ruthless, effective. You're not avoiding responsibility. You're clarifying it. You're separating noise from necessity. You have a choice. You can spend your day reacting to everything, or you can focus on what actually matters. That's the discipline of control. You don't need to control everything. You need to control the right things. Your state, your effort, your standards. Everything else is just static. You have to be ruthless about this. Because if you're not ruthless about what you control, the world will consume you with what you can't. That's the trap, and most people never escape it. They let other people's chaos become their cage. They carry other people's problems like badges of honor. They call it empathy, but it's addiction. Addiction to noise, to control, to drama. Stop. That's not compassion. That's distraction. If it's not yours to fix, it's not yours to feel. That's the rule. 3. How pilots, CEOs, and athletes reframe overwhelm into order. When you watch elite performers, pilots, CEOs, athletes, they look calm in chaos. Not because it's easy, but because they've trained control into instinct. Let's look at pilots. When the cockpit lights up with alarms, they don't panic. They go straight to the checklist. They triage, they execute. They don't try to control the storm. They control the system, their breathing, their order, their process. That's why they land planes when others would freeze. Same with elite athletes. A boxer gets hit. The crowd roars. Adrenaline spikes. But he doesn't flinch. He resets his stance, tightens his focus, adjusts his guard. He can't control the punch that already landed. He can only control the next move. That's the difference between surviving the round and winning the fight. And CEOs? They live in uncertainty. Every decision is a storm of variables. Markets shift, people fail, plans collapse. But the best ones don't spiral. They ask one question: what's the one thing I can control right now? Then they do that with intensity, precision, and consistency. That's the secret. That's how order emerges from overwhelm. Control is not about domination. It's about discipline. It's not about micromanaging everything. It's about managing yourself. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails. You can't control the outcome, but you can perfect your process. You can't control them, but you can control you. That's the path. That's the key. The discipline of ruthless control. Ruthless control means this: you give 100% of your energy to what you can control and 0 to what you can't. No exceptions. You don't waste emotion on the uncontrollable. You don't argue with reality. You don't negotiate with chaos. You direct your attention like a weapon. And the more you practice that discipline, the sharper it gets. Your focus becomes lethal. Your energy becomes efficient. Your mindset becomes unshakable. Because you're no longer pulled in every direction. You're anchored. People will look at you and think you don't care. But they'll be wrong. You care deeply. You just don't waste it. You've learned that attention is currency. And you stop spending it on what doesn't pay you back. That's ruthless control. That's emotional maturity. That's mental strength. You have a choice every day. Fight the storm or steer through it. One drains you. The other defines you. You decide. Control what you can. Release the rest. That's the rule. That's the key. That's the way forward. Because the moment you stop trying to control everything, you finally gain control of yourself. And that's where freedom lives. You've learned to control what you can, ruthlessly, decisively, completely. Now, it's time to protect that control. Because the world won't stop trying to pull it from you through noise, distraction, and manipulation. So the next step is about guarding your focus like your life depends on it. Because it does. Chapter 6. Simplify to clarify. Clarity doesn't come from more information. It comes from less noise. Most people think they need more to think clearly. More data, more opinions, more advice, more options. But the truth is brutal. Complexity kills clarity. Every unnecessary option is mental friction. Every distraction is a drain. Every maybe steals focus from the mission. You don't need more. You need less. You need precision. When everything matters, nothing does. That's the key. Simplify the situation. See the truth. You have a choice. Drown in details or dominate through discipline. 1. Complexity kills clarity. Let's get one thing straight. Confusion is rarely an accident. It's a consequence, a direct result of trying to juggle too much at once. You felt it before. That tightening in your chest when decisions pile up. That mental fog when every option feels urgent. That paralysis that comes from pretending you can do everything. You can't. And that's not weakness. That's reality. The mind under stress wants control. So it grabs for everything. Every angle, every variable, every possible outcome. But the more it grabs, the less it can hold. The result? Overwhelm, hesitation, confusion. That's the enemy of clarity. When you're under pressure, Your brain doesn't need 10 options. It needs direction. It needs hierarchy. It needs simplicity. Because complexity isn't intelligence. It's indecision wearing a disguise. The greatest leaders, thinkers, and performers, they all simplify. Not because they're lazy, but because they know the truth. When the mind is cluttered, performance collapses. So, strip it down. Simplify to clarify. That's not theory. That's survival. When you're in chaos, the first step is to subtract, not add. Cut the noise. Cut the clutter. Cut the excess. Because clarity isn't found, it's created. And you create it through reduction. You don't rise above chaos by doing more. You rise by seeing less. But seeing it clearly. You have a choice, complexity or clarity. Choose clarity. Every time. 2. Under pressure. Cut noise, cut options, cut distractions. Pressure doesn't create confusion. It exposes it. It magnifies what's already chaotic in your system. So when the heat is on, you can't afford extra noise. You can't afford 10 opinions. You can't afford endless scrolling. You can't afford to be reactive. Under stress, your brain becomes like a battlefield, full of noise, movement, and distraction. You have to impose order. You have to cut. Cut the noise. Cut the options. Cut the distractions. That's not about being rigid. It's about being ruthless. You don't need to listen to everyone. You don't need to debate every possibility. You don't need to overanalyze. You need to decide. That's what high performers understand. They don't waste energy on what doesn't serve the mission. They eliminate until only what matters remains. That's how Navy SEALs think under fire. That's how surgeons operate in crisis. That's how CEOs make calls when a market crashes. They filter. They cut. They simplify. A SEAL in combat doesn't think about 10 moves ahead. He thinks about the next move, the one that keeps him and his team alive. A surgeon doesn't focus on the hundreds of things that could go wrong. She focuses on the 3 things that must go right. That's not instinct. That's discipline. That's training. You don't need to think faster. You need to think fewer. The undisciplined mind asks, what else should I consider? The disciplined mind asks, what can I remove? That's the shift. That's the secret. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your systems. And if your system is cluttered, you fall fast. So start cutting. Cut one habit that wastes time. Cut one voice that clouds judgment. Cut one distraction that weakens focus. That's how you build clarity. 1 cut at a time. 3. The rule of 3. How decision makers stay clear under fire. When everything feels like it's collapsing, when your mind is racing and your heart is pounding, you need a structure that forces simplicity. That's where the rule of 3 comes in. Here's how it works. You never focus on more than 3 controllables at once. 3. That's it. Because your brain can't hold clarity beyond that. In a firefight, elite soldiers live by this. They don't think about everything. They focus on 3, cover, movement, and communication. In business, top CEOs do the same. They simplify their week into 3 outcomes that move the company forward. In crisis medicine, trauma surgeons follow 3. Stabilize, diagnose, act. The rule of 3 isn't random. It's biology. It's how the human brain processes complexity into clarity. So here's how you apply it. When you're overwhelmed, stop. Take 1 deep breath. Ask yourself, what are my top 3 controllables right now? Maybe it's my breathing, my focus, my next action. Or maybe it's my energy, my communication, my execution. Whatever it is, write them down. Speak them out loud. And then nothing else exists. For the next hour, the next day, the next moment, those 3 are your mission. Everything outside those 3, irrelevant. That's how you slow chaos. That's how you think clearly under pressure. The rule of three gives your brain boundaries. Boundaries create clarity. Clarity creates action, and action restores control. You have a choice, complexity, or control. That's a fork in the road every high performer faces. The amateurs chase every variable. The professionals narrow their field. You don't need to see everything. You need to see what matters. That's the key. 4. Simplify your life and watch your power return. Let's step back. This isn't just about decision-making. This is about how you live. Because the way you think is the way you operate. And the way you operate is the way you live. If your environment is cluttered, your mind will be too. If your routines are chaotic, your results will be too. Simplify your systems. Simplify your schedule. Simplify your circle. That's not minimalism. That's mastery. Every unnecessary commitment is a leak in your energy. Every toxic connection is interference in your focus. Cut what drains you. Keep what drives you. Simplify your diet. Simplify your digital life. Simplify your goals. When you simplify, you don't lose power. You gain it. You take back attention. You take back time. You take back peace. And peace isn't weakness. It's weaponized clarity. Because when your mind is still, your choices are sharp. When your world is simple, your vision is strong. That's what this chapter is about. Subtraction as strength. Simplicity as strategy. Discipline as dominance. You don't need to do more. You need to do what matters. Better, simplify to clarify. That's your mission. You've learned how to simplify, how to cut noise, cut clutter, and create space for clarity. But once that space exists, something powerful happens. You start to see the truth, not just what's around you, but within you. And that's where your next evolution begins. Because simplicity creates focus, and focus exposes truth. Now it's time to confront that truth without distortion, without ego, without fear. It's time to talk about self-honesty, the kind that burns away illusion and builds unshakable clarity. Chapter 7. Perspective is a pressure valve. Stress doesn't come from what happens to you. It comes from how you see what happens to you. The situation isn't the stress. Your perception is. That's the key. You can't always control the storm, but you can control your stance in it. You have a choice. You can see pressure as a threat, or you can see it as training. You can see chaos as punishment, or you can see it as practice. The difference is perspective. Perspective is a pressure valve. It releases the buildup before it breaks you. It turns panic into power. It turns fear into focus. That's not mindset fluff. That's hard, tactical reality. The elite, the ones who lead under fire, who think when others freeze, they don't have easier circumstances. They have clearer frames. They don't just see what's happening. They see through what's happening. You can train that. You can build that. But it takes discipline, not denial. Because it's not about pretending it's easy. It's about perceiving it differently. It's not about eliminating stress. It's about managing the meaning. 1. The situation isn't the stress. Your perception is. Stress isn't external. It's internal. It's not the event. It's your interpretation of the event. That's why two people can face the same crisis and experience completely different realities. One collapses. The other adapts. Same facts. Different frames. So here's the truth. Your suffering is often amplified by your story. The story you tell yourself about what this moment means. You think, this is impossible. You think, I can't handle this. You think, this always happens to me. That's perception poisoning your power. When you change the story, you change the stress. You have a choice, panic or perspective. That's the key. Change your frame, change your fire, because the mind amplifies what it focuses on. If you focus on loss, stress explodes. If you focus on control, calm expands. This isn't about ignoring reality. It's about adjusting how you view it. The Stoics called it the obstacle is the way. Modern psychology calls it cognitive reframing. Performance coaches call it mental agility. Different names. Same truth. Stress isn't the enemy. Distorted perception is. When you understand that, the entire game changes. You stop reacting like a victim. You start responding like a strategist. Because the moment you realize, this isn't happening to me, it's happening for me, the power returns. You stop being crushed by pressure and start being conditioned by it. That's not delusion. That's discipline. You have to train your mind to find a frame that serves you, not the one that traps you. That's the work. 2, train yourself to zoom out under pressure. When you're under pressure, your world shrinks. Your focus narrows. Your brain locks onto the threat. That's biology, survival mode. But survival mode isn't leadership mode. It's reaction, not reflection. The key is to zoom out. Widen your frame. Regain altitude. Because the closer you are to a problem, the bigger it looks. Step back, and suddenly it's smaller, more manageable. That's why perspective is power. When pilots lose visibility in a storm, they rely on instruments. They zoom out. They look at altitude, heading, and speed, not the turbulence in front of the windshield. You have to do the same mentally. When emotion clouds judgment, zoom out to see the whole picture. Ask, what's the actual timeline here? Ask, what's the worst that can realistically happen? Ask, will this still matter in a week? In a year? These questions expand your frame. And the wider your frame, the calmer your focus. Pressure is a magnifier. It makes small things feel enormous. Your job is to keep scale. When you zoom out, you reclaim context. And context kills panic. Remember this. You're not inside the storm. You're above it. You're not drowning in the waves. You're steering the ship. You have a choice. Zoom in and drown or zoom out and drive. The elite perform under fire because they see what others can't. They see time differently. They know pressure moments are temporary. They know pain is feedback. They know perspective protects performance. That's the mindset you need. When chaos hits, don't react. Pause. Breathe. Zoom out. Remind yourself. This is data. This is training. This is not forever. That's how you keep your composure when everyone else loses theirs. That's how you lead. 3, reframing questions that regain control. When you lose perspective, you lose power. And when you lose power, you make weak decisions. So you need a system to snap you back into clarity. Fast. That system is built on reframing questions. Questions that cut through emotion and bring logic back online. Because under stress, emotion hijacks reason. You need to interrupt that loop. You need to take the wheel back from the chaos. Start with these. Question 1. What's still true? When pressure hits, your brain focuses on what's gone wrong. This question forces you to focus on what remains. What's still working? What's still in your control? What's still available? Because certainty calms the mind. When you identify what's still true, you rebuild stability. Question 2. What actually matters right now? This cuts out noise and brings instant focus. Most stress comes from overvaluing the irrelevant. This question trims the fat. It forces you to prioritize. And priority is power. Question 3. What can I do next? Not later. Not eventually. Next. That's how you move from paralysis to progress. Action reduces anxiety. Always. These 3 questions form your mental reset protocol. They shift you from emotional reaction to strategic response. Because you don't control outcomes, you control inputs. You don't control others, you control effort. You don't control the storm, you control the sails. That's the key. When the world spins fast, ask slower questions. When pressure tightens, loosen your frame. When chaos rises, change your view. Perspective is power. Reframing is the tool. Discipline is the engine. For perspective is a skill, train it daily. Perspective isn't a one-time insight. It's a discipline, a daily mental exercise. You don't get it once and keep it forever. You practice it. You build it. Every frustration is an opportunity to zoom out. Every setback is a chance to reframe. Every moment of stress is a rep in mental training. The more you practice, the faster you reframe. The faster you reframe, the calmer you perform. The calmer you perform, the clearer you think. That's the progression. That's mastery. Start small. Next time something irritates you, traffic, delay, argument, pause and ask, what's another way to see this? Don't run from stress. Redefine it. It's not about comfort. It's about control. It's not about denial. It's about discipline. Perspective gives you distance. Distance gives you dominance. When you see clearly, you decide cleanly. When you decide cleanly, you act confidently. When you act confidently, stress becomes fuel, not fire. You have a choice. React or reframe. Collapse or calibrate. Panic or perspective. Choose wisely, because that choice determines whether pressure breaks you or builds you. The transition. You've learned how to control perception, how to zoom out, reframe, and reclaim clarity when life tightens its grip. But perspective alone isn't enough. Clarity must be protected. And the greatest threat to clarity isn't the world. It's your own words, the stories you tell, the dialogue in your head, the noise you create when you should be still. Because sometimes silence is the ultimate strategy. So now that you master perspective, it's time to master your voice. The inner and the outer, the spoken and the unspoken. Chapter 8. Clarity loves preparation. When pressure hits, you don't rise to the occasion. You fall to your level of preparation. That's the truth no one wants to admit. They think they'll figure it out when the moment comes. They think instinct will carry them. It won't. You won't rise. You'll revert. You'll default to your habits, your systems, your routines. You'll fall back on what you practiced, not what you've imagined. That's the key. Clarity doesn't come from confidence. Clarity comes from preparation. When you're prepared, pressure feels familiar. It's not chaos. It's choreography. You've rehearsed it. You've built for it. You've earned the right to stay calm. That's why the pros look peaceful in chaos. It's not magic. It's muscle memory. You have a choice to live reactively or to train proactively, to rely on adrenaline or to rely on systems, to panic or to prepare. Choose preparation, because clarity loves it. 1. You don't rise under pressure. You revert to your preparation. When the stakes rise, the truth comes out. Your preparation, or your lack of it, becomes visible. It's easy to talk about composure when things are calm. It's easy to sound strong when nothing's at risk. But pressure strips away your mask. When you're under stress, your real habits step forward. The untrained mind cracks. The disciplined mind performs. That's the difference. Under stress, you don't think more clearly. You think faster. And fast thinking only works when you've trained your defaults. That's why preparation isn't optional. It's survival. Pilots don't hope they'll react well in turbulence. They train for it. They drill it over and over until calm becomes automatic. Soldiers don't wing it in chaos. They follow protocol. Because when chaos hits, your brain seeks the familiar. If you haven't built the familiar, you'll freeze. You have a choice: to build habits that hold under heat, or to hope you won't fall apart. Hope is not a strategy. Preparation is. You can't fake readiness. You can't bluff composure. You either built it or you didn't. That's why I say it again. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your systems. Preparation is emotional control. It's the foundation beneath your calm. It's the silent work that makes you look unshakable. So stop waiting for the big moment. Start building for it. Because when it comes, and it will, you won't have time to think. You'll have time to respond. And that response will be whatever you trained it to be. That's the power of preparation. 2, the brain seeks certainty. Preparation gives us ability. Your brain is not built for chaos. It's built for patterns, for predictability, for order. That's why uncertainty creates panic. The brain hates what it can't map. Preparation gives it the map. That's the key. When you're prepared, uncertainty doesn't feel like danger. It feels like a challenge. Because your brain already knows what to do. That's how you eliminate fear, by eliminating unknowns. Fear thrives in vagueness. Clarity kills it. If you want calm under pressure, don't chase confidence. Build certainty. And certainty only comes from doing the work before you need it. Preparation is mental insurance. It's emotional armor. It's how you tell your brain, I've seen this before. I know what comes next. That belief creates composure, and composure creates control. You don't need every answer. You just need a structure that holds you steady. That's why top performers use checklists, routines, and rituals. They automate discipline so emotion can't interfere. Athletes visualize before the game. CEOs rehearse crisis scenarios. Surgeons walk through procedures mentally before a single cut. That's not overkill. That's how they stay calm when chaos hits. You want stability? Build systems. You want confidence? Practice until it's boring. Repetition builds reliability. Reliability builds resilience. That's the equation. When your brain knows what to do, it stops wasting energy on fear. That energy turns into focus. That focus turns into performance. You don't need to be fearless. You need to be familiar. And familiarity is born from preparation. 3, pre-commitment. Decide before it happens. Preparation isn't just physical. It's mental. It's linguistic. It's behavioral. It's how you pre-decide what you'll do when stress hits. That's called pre-commitment. You decide your reactions before you need them. You program your response so emotion doesn't rewrite it later. Because under pressure, emotion speaks louder than reason, unless you've already given reason the script. That's the secret of emotional control. It's not about never feeling. It's about never improvising. Pre-commit to your behavior. Pre-commit to your language. Pre-commit to your tone. That way, when chaos comes, you don't have to find control. You just follow it. Here's how. Step 1. Identify the triggers. What moments make you lose control? What words, actions, or situations spike your stress? Write them down. Name them. Awareness is power. Step 2. Script your response. Don't wait until the moment to decide how to act. Decide now. When you feel attacked, you'll pause. When you feel rushed, you'll slow your breath. When you feel overwhelmed, you'll return to your controllables. You don't need their permission to stay calm. You don't need approval to hold your tone. That's pre-commitment in action. Step 3, rehearse it. Mentally, verbally, physically. Walk through scenarios before they happen. That's not paranoia. That's preparation. Every elite performer uses it. From military training to high-stakes business, pre-decision saves lives, reputations, and relationships. Because when emotion rises, your brain's logic goes offline. But your pre-commitments keep running in the background. They take over. That's the key. You can't control every outcome, but you can control your default. And your default is built, not born. Preparation makes you unbreakable because you've already lived the moment before it arrived. That's the discipline most people skip. They call it overthinking. I call it ownership. You have a choice to prepare your reactions or to regret them. 4. Preparation protects clarity. Preparation doesn't just make you capable. It makes you clear, because when you've done the work in advance, you don't waste energy second-guessing. You just execute. Clarity is speed. Speed is confidence. And that's why clarity loves preparation. When you're prepared, you can stay calm while others panic. When you're prepared, you can stay deliberate while others scramble. When you're prepared, you make the complex simple. You've already solved it once. You're just repeating what works. That's how you stay disciplined under pressure, not by emotion, but by structure. Structure beats stress. Preparation beats panic. Clarity beats chaos. Every single time. 5. The daily discipline of preparedness. Preparation is not a one-time effort. It's a daily practice. You prepare your body through repetition. You prepare your mind through reflection. You prepare your emotions through rehearsal. You don't get ready when it's time. You stay ready all the time. That's the standard. That's the discipline. The prepared mind doesn't fear pressure. It welcomes it, because pressure is just proof that you're stepping into your potential. You have a choice. Be reactive or be ready. Wait for clarity or build it. Clarity doesn't visit the unprepared. It rewards the disciplined, because it's not about talent. It's about training. It's not about luck. It's about leadership. And leadership starts with preparation. The transition. You've built control. You've built focus. You've built preparation. But there's one more step, because even with preparation, pressure still tests your patience. You'll still face people who push your limits. You'll still face moments that challenge your peace. And in those moments, your true strength isn't in action, it's in restraint. You prepared your systems. Now you must master your stillness. Chapter 9. Train chaos before it finds you. Pressure doesn't surprise the prepared. It only exposes the untrained. Most people live reactively. Calm when life is calm. Panic when life isn't. That's not control. That's dependency. You don't rise to the occasion. You revert to your training. That's the key. If your only training is comfort, you will collapse the second things get hard. You have a choice: to wait for chaos and hope you'll survive it, or to train chaos and guarantee that you do. The best in the world don't wait for pressure to show up. They simulate it. They seek it. They build calm in chaos long before the chaos ever arrives. That's what separates the average from the elite. The average avoids stress. The elite rehearse it. It's not about being fearless. It's about being familiar. You don't need to eliminate pressure. You need to condition your response to it. That's the secret. You train chaos before it finds you. 1. Stress is predictable. Practice makes it survivable. Here's the truth. Stress is not random. The details may change, but the patterns don't. Deadlines, confrontations, uncertainty, fatigue. It's all the same test, just in different costumes. Yet most people act surprised every time pressure hits. They call it bad luck. They call it timing. But the truth? They simply never practiced. They never trained their nervous system to stay steady. They never prepared their mind to stay sharp. Stress is predictable, and what's predictable is trainable. If you know pressure is coming, why wait? You have a choice. You can avoid the storm, or you can build your shelter now. Every fighter knows it. Every surgeon knows it. Every leader knows it. You don't learn composure in the moment. You build it before the moment. You don't wait for the pressure. You practice under it. Because when it shows up for real, it's too late to train. That's the principle of stress inoculation. Expose yourself to controlled difficulty. Build tolerance. Expand capacity. It's like a vaccine for chaos. Small doses, high intent, constant control. When you do that, stress stops being a threat. It becomes your training partner. That's the key. 2. How elite performers use stress inoculation. The military calls it stress inoculation. Psychologists call it adaptive exposure. I call it discipline under fire. No matter the name, the principle is the same. You simulate pressure so that pressure stops being powerful. That's what elite performers do. They don't hope for calm. They build it. A Navy SEAL doesn't meditate his way into composure. He earns it through repetition. He drills under gunfire. He practices problem solving while cold, wet, and exhausted. Why? Because he knows something most people forget. Your nervous system needs rehearsal. If you only practice when it's easy, you're only calm when it's easy. You have to train your biology to hold composure when everything screams otherwise. That's why surgeons train under time pressure simulations. That's why pilots rehearse emergencies in simulators. That's why firefighters run live drills with smoke and chaos. They don't do it for fun. They do it for familiarity. Because when the real chaos hits, they don't have to find calm. They've already installed it. That's what you must do. You don't need a battlefield. You just need the mindset. You can simulate pressure in your daily life. Set a timer on your tasks and execute fast. Speak in front of strangers and manage your breathing. Take cold showers and command your focus. Each time, you teach your brain a new truth. I can handle discomfort. I can stay calm. I am not ruled by panic. That's the discipline of stress inoculation. You can't wait for pressure to test you. You must build proof that you can handle it. Proof through practice. Proof through discomfort. Proof through repetition. That's how elite composure is built, one rep at a time. 3. Design your own stress drills. It's time to get practical. You can train chaos in simple, deliberate ways. You don't need to live in combat. You just need to create challenge. Here's how. Drill 1. Cold exposure. Command your physiology. Step into the cold. Literally. Cold showers. Ice baths. Breath holds. It's not about being tough. It's about learning command. When you enter the cold, your body screams, get out. Your heart rate spikes. Your breath races. You want to panic. That's your moment. You take control. You slow your breathing. You remind yourself, I decide my state. The cold becomes your teacher. You learn to choose calm when your biology says otherwise. That's real control. Drill 2. Time pressure. Sharpen your focus. Set a timer. Give yourself constraints. If a task usually takes 30 minutes, give yourself 15. Then execute. You'll feel the pressure rise. You'll feel the urgency. And inside it, you'll learn to prioritize fast. That's how you build mental clarity under pressure. You stop being emotional about the clock. You become efficient instead of reactive. That's not stress, that's simulation. Drill 3. Decision games. Train cognitive agility. Under pressure, indecision kills clarity. So you train decisiveness. You create scenarios that force choice. Flip a coin on small matters. Set limits for big ones. Stop the endless mental spinning. You'll discover that clarity isn't found through more thinking. It's found through committed action. That's what high performers understand. They don't wait to feel ready. They move, learn, and adjust. That's how you train chaos into calm, through repeated exposure to controlled uncertainty. The more you practice discomfort, the less discomfort controls you. That's the key. 4. Conditioning calm into your system. You can't fake calm. You can only condition it. The nervous system learns through experience, not theory. It doesn't care what you know. It cares what you've proven. If you've proven you can stay calm in the cold, you'll stay calm in the boardroom. If you've proven you can breathe under pressure, you'll breathe through conflict. If you've proven you can operate in discomfort, you'll stop fearing it. You have to teach your body that pressure doesn't equal panic. That's the training. That's the discipline. It's not about toughness. It's about trust. Trust in your own conditioning. Trust in your preparation. Trust in your composure. Because when life hits, you won't have time to find calm. It has to already live in you. That's why you train chaos before it finds you. 5. The discipline of controlled discomfort. Understand this. Avoiding stress doesn't protect you. It weakens you. You don't grow by staying safe. You grow by choosing controlled difficulty. That's where real confidence is born. Not from ease, but from evidence. You felt chaos before. You survived it. You've stayed calm when you wanted to run. That proof becomes your foundation. The more you train chaos, the less chaos owns you. The more you seek challenge, the less challenge shakes you. The more you build pressure tolerance, the freer you become. Freedom isn't found in comfort. It's forged in control. You have a choice to stay soft or to become solid. The soft break under fire. The solid bend, breathe, and keep going. That's who you're becoming. You don't need anyone's permission to train your calm. You don't need perfect conditions to build your power. You just need the discipline to step into controlled discomfort and stay there until calm becomes instinct. That's how you turn pressure into peace. That's how you turn chaos into control. You train it before it finds you. The transition. You've built your tolerance. You've trained your composure. You've turned stress into strength. Now it's time to understand why all of this works and how to make it permanent. Because calm isn't a mood. It's a structure. It's a system built on consistency. You don't visit calm. You maintain it through repetition. That's where your true freedom lives. Chapter 10. Clarity is a daily discipline. Clarity doesn't appear. You build it. It's not a spark of inspiration. It's a discipline of maintenance. Most people think clarity comes from quiet weekends, long walks, or perfect mornings. They think it's something you find. It's not. Clarity is earned, and it's earned daily. You either train calm every day, or you lose it instantly. You either protect your mental space, or the world fills it for you. That's the truth. That's the key. You have a choice. To drift and drown in confusion, or to take command of your focus, your energy, your mind. Clarity isn't something you hope for. It's something you practice. 1. Clarity is not a moment, it's maintenance. Let's start with a reality most people avoid. Clarity fades. Fast. One day you're centered, focused, unstoppable. The next you're scattered, irritated, lost. Why? Because clarity isn't permanent. You don't achieve it once, you sustain it. Think of it like fitness. You don't work out once and stay strong forever. You train, recover, and train again. Your mind is no different. You either train it to stay calm under pressure, or chaos trains you to stay reactive. You can't afford to be casual about your state. Your mind will become whatever you repeat daily. That's the secret most people never learn. They treat clarity like luck. But it's not luck, it's maintenance. Every morning you have to reset. Every night you have to clear. Every moment you have to return. You have a choice. To live by reaction or to live by rhythm. You choose rhythm because rhythm creates calm and calm creates clarity. You don't control the noise. You control your maintenance. That's the key. 2. Morning. Build command before the world wakes up. Your morning determines your mind. It's that simple. The first hour is your foundation. If you let chaos in early, it stays all day. So you build control before the world even knows you're awake. The goal isn't motivation. It's mastery. You don't need a perfect morning routine. You need a disciplined one. Here's the structure. Move. Breathe. Focus. Execute. Move. You don't need a gym. You need motion. Do push-ups. Stretch. Walk. Get your blood moving. Because the fastest way to clear mental fog is through physical activation. Your body wakes your mind. You're not training muscles. You're training momentum. Breathe. Before you check your phone, check your breath. Slow, deep, controlled. This is your nervous system's reset button. You teach your body to start calm, not reactive. You remind your system, I control the pace. That's the first win of the day. Composure before contact. Focus. Clarity dies in clutter. So you set your focus before the world distracts you. 1 page of writing. 1 minute of silence. 1 statement of intent. Today I move with calm and precision. That's it. Don't complicate it. Don't chase rituals. Build repetition. You don't need their permission to start your day with control. You don't need a fancy system. You need commitment. Your morning routine is your clarity armor. You put it on before you walk into battle. That's the key. 3. Evening. Clear the system, reset the mind. You can't stay clear if you never reset. The mind needs closure. Otherwise, you carry unfinished noise into tomorrow. Every night, you perform a mental shutdown. The purpose: release, reflect, reset. Release. Stop feeding on noise before bed. No endless scrolling. No anxious conversations. No unfinished business in your head. You release it. You let it go, not because it's resolved, but because it's time. You have to teach yourself that peace is a decision, not a result. You choose when the day ends. That's discipline. Reflect. 5 minutes. Pen and paper. What went right? What needs improvement? What will you focus on tomorrow? Simple, direct, intentional. Reflection trains awareness, and awareness builds clarity. You're not journaling feelings. You're extracting data. You're studying yourself like a professional studies performance. That's how you stay sharp. Reset. Now you quiet the system. Breath work. Stillness, gratitude, not because it's trendy, but because it's tactical. When your mind ends a day calm, your nervous system resets overnight. You wake up clear, not cluttered. That's not luck. That's maintenance. You don't get clarity by accident. You get it through consistent reset. That's the key. 4. The discipline of daily calm. Calm isn't a mood. It's a muscle. You have to train it like any other skill, and that means daily repetition. You don't build clarity once. You reinforce it constantly. When you skip your resets, chaos creeps in. When you stop moving, the fog returns. When you stop breathing, your body forgets how to calm down. It's not about intensity. It's about consistency. Ruthless consistency. Every morning, practice calm. Every evening, reinforce calm. Every moment, return to calm. That's your framework. When your body knows a pattern, it becomes automatic. When your mind trusts a routine, it stays composed under pressure. That's when clarity stops being fragile. That's when calm becomes instinct. You don't wait for peace, you install it. That's the shift. It's not about control. It's about conditioning. You condition your system to return to focus faster than the world can distract you. That's power. That's self-mastery. 5. Automatic calm, instant focus, consistent clarity. The goal is simple. Automatic calm, instant focus, consistent clarity. No matter what hits. When the world gets loud, you breathe. When the pressure builds, you move with intention. When emotions spike, you return to your rhythm. That's trained composure. And when you live this way long enough, clarity stops being something you try to have. It becomes who you are. Your body learns that calm is default. Your mind learns that clarity is constant. That's the reward of discipline. not motivation, not hype, control. You don't need motivation when calm is your baseline. You don't need inspiration when focus is your system. You just execute quietly, consistently, confidently, because you've built what others are still chasing. Peace that performs. 6. The real work. This isn't about perfection. It's about repetition. Some days you'll miss your routine. Some nights you'll forget your reset. That's fine. Start again. Always start again. Because that's the practice. You don't fail when you lose clarity. You fail when you stop rebuilding it. Every day is a new rep in your mental gym. Every moment is another chance to reset. You don't need ideal conditions. You just need daily commitment. Clarity doesn't come from control. It comes from consistency. That's the key. You have a choice. You can live reactive, emotional, distracted like everyone else. Or you can live clear, composed, deliberate like the few who win. The difference isn't talent. It's discipline. Daily discipline. That's how you train clarity until it becomes your nature. The transition. You've learned to train your calm. You've learned to maintain your clarity. Now it's time to learn how to protect it. Because clarity without boundaries is temporary. Focus without defense gets stolen. The next step is building mental armor. Protecting your peace from people, noise, and distractions. You've earned clarity. Now let's keep it. Conclusion. Clarity under stress isn't a gift. It's a system. It's breath before reaction. Pause before panic. Focus before fear. You learn how to slow time when pressure rises. How to turn emotion into data. How to simplify chaos into control. That's the key. Control what you can, release what you can't. You don't need perfection. You need precision. You don't need motivation. You need method. Calm is not a personality trait. It's a trained response. And now, it's your responsibility to train it daily. Every day, you're either practicing panic or practicing peace. Choose clarity. Choose control. Choose composure. Because when everyone else breaks, you'll be the one who breathes. When everyone else reacts, you'll be the one who decides. That's the power of trained clarity. Now take it into the chaos and lead